Hello, welcome to Epic Flail. My name is Northy, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about the recent Marvel Crisis Protocol Weekender, which took place in York. It was run by some very dear friends of mine, Gavin Beckitt, Brett Wilkie, Matt Darville, and Mike East, who I've all played War Machine with those guys for many, many years. They started a club this past year called Next Generation Gaming. The club's been a big success. Their club in York is doing really well, and they've now started to branch out and run competitive events in York. So I was really excited to get up there and hang out with some old friends, but I was also excited to learn more about a game, about Marvel Crisis Protocol. I've always been a bit weirded out by superheroes. It's not my most favourite theme or theme of gaming. But I've always been intrigued in this game, mainly because a lot of the guys that I'd known for years that played War Machine jumped over and started playing it. And it's kind of stood the test of time. They're still playing it like a year and a half, 2 years later. So it certainly caught my eye. And I went up there not wanting to just cover the event itself and speak to some of the top players, speak to the guys that organise the event, but also just learn a bit more about MCP. Maybe it's a game that I would want to play, want to pick up and want to get involved in. So at the end of the video, I'm going to be sharing some of my reflections on that and letting you know what I thought of the game as a competitive game. But in the meantime, I'm going to be speaking to some of the top players in the country at MCP, some of the event organisers, and learning a bit more about the community itself. So whether you like superheroes or not, this is going to be useful for two groups of people. The first group are those that are interested in MCP, maybe have kind of seen it, played a few games, or maybe played no games at all, but want to find out what is it like as a game. You know, how does a game play? And also, what's the community like? Like, we all know that like a game really is only as good as its community. You've got to find fun people to play against. You want a tournament experiences and casual game experiences which feel positive and enjoyable, but also you make friends from. That's why most of us, I think, play this game. It's often about the community. So it'd be interesting for you if you want to learn more about the MCP community, because this video, I speak to lots of people about that and learn more about that. But it will also be interesting for people who play MCP already, because again, I speak to some of the top players in the country and ask some questions around the balance of the game, what's the meta like, and I also learn a lot about the event itself. So maybe if this was an event that you didn't attend, this will give you a good insight as to what it was like, and maybe you'll want to attend next year. Maybe if you're an event organizer, there'll be some things you can learn and pick up as well, because I get into quite a lot of detail about the event itself and the player experience, which is obviously a key factor. So while you're here, please like and subscribe. Spoiler alert, we'll be doing some more MCP content. So if you're an MCP player, or you want to learn more about MCP, jump on board now and grow with us and come on my journey as I learn more about Marvel Crisis Protocol. I really didn't think I'd like it because, like, spandex and superheroes is just not my vibe. But hey, turns out a good game system will turn your head. So anyway, let's get into it. First of all, I'll tell you a little bit more about the event itself. So it took place at York Stableside, which is where all the tiny little jockeys rest and live in between their races. It's a very central location. It's easy to get to from the train station, and it also has loads of parking on site. There is food served as part of the ticket price. You get breakfast, you get dinner. There are 2 gaming spaces, can seat comfortably 64 players. The great thing about this site, and a lot of what the players said, was that having the rooms on site and just sort of 10 seconds, like literally 10 seconds from the gaming spaces, was absolutely amazing. The venue also stays open as late as people want a game. So there was people like Brett and Gav. I mean, this is just Gav anyway. Gav plays any game ridiculously slow until the early hours, but they were playing till like 4:15. So you just want to get like 3 days of loads and loads of games in. It's definitely the event for you. So that's a little bit of information about the venue, but let's get into the interviews that I carried out over those few days. So first up is my very good friend, expert at the game, and also all-round good guy, Mike East. Hey, what should we talk about then? Should we talk about like the organisation bit? Do you want to talk a bit about the game?
Yeah, let's talk about the game.
You played a lot of War Machine and a lot of MCP, haven't you?
Yeah, so...
Great. Let's do an introduction. Who am I sat with? Sharing such a wonderful pink shirt.
You are sat with Mike East, who is one of the organisers of the event, along with Gavin Beckitt and Brett Wilkie, and yourself, obviously.
Two terrible men, Gavin and Brett.
Terrible. They're good. They're good men.
Yeah, they're good lads.
They're excellent men. So yeah, we started up a new club recently, didn't we?
We did, yeah. Well, you kept me. You've helped me feel involved, which is nice.
Yeah. It was a good idea. We all had friends for many years. We start our own club in York.
Yeah.
And run some events.
Next Generation Gaming.
Next Generation Gaming. We have obviously been here twice before with War Machine, which was a big success.
I remember that game.
It's still a game.
War Machine. I remember War Machine.
It's still there.
It's still there.
Different.
We're not giving up on War Machine.
No. We're waiting.
People just doing other things.
Yeah, we're just doing this.
We're just
playing
mixing,
MCP for a bit.
Yes, this event originally started as a War Machine event, but this year it's got 64 players. Yeah. MCP.
Yeah. Marvel Crisis Protocol.
Marvel Crisis Protocol.
Yeah,
and how are you finding the game then? Because you've obviously, me and you played War Machine together for years, played it a lot. How are you finding MCP? Because a lot of people that watch this will be War Machiners.
All right, so the game was basically made by Will Pagani and Will Schick, who basically created the War Machine that we used to play and love. So clearly, the game is in good hands. It's very, very well balanced. It's very fun. It's very engaging. You don't need a whole army of models.
Yeah.
All the sculpts are great. The community's excellent in the UK.
It seems like a nice crowd. A lot of these guys, there's a good chunk of the War Machine lot playing this, right? I recognise lots of people from here. There's the Flail lot that are playing. The rest of the Flail team are playing Marvel Crisis now.
There's quite a lot of people that came over. As I said, very, very likely because of the fact that the game was created by people that we played their games before. There's some elements of it which are kind of recognisable in a way.
Yeah.
Like really focused on scenario rather than just like bashing each other about.
Yeah.
There is on the surface what looks like quite a kind of straightforward game. There is a whole load of depth in there to explore. So for gamers who are really into their nitty gritty kind of min-maxing and sort of really trying to get the most out of it.
Precise measurements and movements. I noticed that everyone's using measuring sticks. I haven't seen a single tape measure.
Yeah, there's no tape measures for MCP. You have a load of sort of finite measurements, range rulers. But in many instances, when you're moving about, as long as you move to somewhere on that template, you don't have to move to the end. It's anywhere that touches. You have got quite a degree of sort of agency as to where you sort of pop your models. But yeah, the mechanics are excellent. The game's excellent. The community's excellent.
There's a lot of spandex, isn't there? A lot of them.
There's a hell of a lot of spandex.
No one's cosplaying that look, unfortunately.
No, not at this event today. But I have been to events where there has been some.
People have spandexed up.
One chap. He won the event.
There's one persistent guy that every event is like, hey guys, I'm here again.
And he's an absolute dude. I played against him. He's an absolute legend. Yeah.
Oh, really nice. Good, So it's precise. It's got that War Machine pedigree because of the people that put the game together. I've noticed you can also move terrain and throw terrain and things like that. There's quite a interactive state of the game.
So in a cinematic kind of way, you can throw things at people, you can throw people at people. You know what I mean? You've got people flying all over the board, laser beams everywhere, or uppercuts and enormous superpowers, all sorts of things.
So it's like the sort of War Machine power attacks and stuff.
Yeah, it is.
It's kind of the same thing, like the evolution of that a little bit, moving people around.
Yeah, but rather than them being sort of homogenised and sort of all there's standard rules that a lot of models can do.
Yeah.
In MCP, they're all individuals. They've all got their own sort of rules.
And how many models are there at this point? What's the depth of the roster?
Wow.
To the exact number.
I don't know. Because it keeps coming more models.
What, 10s or 20, 30, 40,
There's over
50?
100.
Oh, over 100, okay.
There's over 100 models out for the game. They're all unique. And every character is someone's favourite character, right? If you're into the comics and you're into the lore, they're all individual. And you basically create a roster of 10 heroes.
Yeah.
Out of the 100 that there are, and a load of 10 team tactics cards, which are a little bit like feats in War Machine.
Okay.
That you can play one-off during the game, but you've got a number of them, and you tailor them as well out of a pool of many cards. So it's really the opportunity's there to really kind of create something that's yours. You know what I mean? You can your favourite characters or what works. All the synergies. There's just so many. It's really deep and interesting experience.
What's the tournament community like? Is it a bit like War Machine? Have you got some established top players, or is it in its infancy? How developed is the community?
There are many really good players.
Who's the best one? Go on. No, I'm joking. Don't say. Don't stroke anyone's ego. No. Is it you? You're good. You're good at this game.
I'm not bad.
You know,
I'm not the best though.
I'm not bad.
I'm not the best. I've had a bit of success.
Yeah, you won a team event, didn't you? You and a bunch of characters.
I did. Yeah, we won the Nations event. It was me and Quinn and Jonah, a guy called John, a guy called Chris. Really good chaps.
Cool.
We all
Good set of
got,
lads.
and this is the interesting thing, right?
You all went in spandex.
We didn't go into band. No, unfortunately.
And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. I'm not like anti-spandex. Sorry.
If I'd fancied it, I might have done, but not on this occasion.
But what was interesting about it?
So the interesting thing is this game released during lockdown, right? Which is a terrible time to release a game where you want events like this going on, right? Because it just couldn't happen. So what happened is there was a tabletop simulator mod of the game, which was created, and my God, the guys that made that are amazing. And Norbert has been quite sort of instrumental in kind of like pulling together like an online community, basically. And it's grown and grown and grown and grown. So a lot of people actually met each other just playing on TTS and on Discord. And and then it's like, oh, the Nations is on, events are back on, and the guys that I joined with, they were all just from all over the country, and we all got together as if we, you know, it weren't like we were strangers. We talked for so much.
You played on TTS.
Yeah, we turned up, we won, it was brilliant, and we had a great
sick.
time. Yeah, awesome. Element
like
Games, yeah. Tony Moore ran it. It was absolutely
I
excellent.
know Tony Moore.
Yeah,
Tony Moore from back in. I remember Tony Moore, one of the first tournament games I ever had.
Was it against Tony?
It was against. Yeah, it was literally when I first started playing War Machine. And he assassinated Kruger. He had Epic Lilith and he assassinated me like turn 2. I think I had one turn, ran too far forward, and he was like, I can kill you now. I was like,
yes. You're not Tony.
Dare you? No, bad Tony.
Yeah, so Tony,
Bad Tony.
He's been putting massive events on Element Games for everyone. So he's doing the Element bit, which is amazing. We've got Aaron from Web Warrior Protocols. He's putting together the Infinity Formula events. We've got us doing the Weekender. There's just so much going on. There are events, ProTech. I've been going to a lot of events in ProTech. We've actually provided. It's a shop, a gaming shop. Stockton on Tees, I think it is. Forgive me if I got that wrong. And they've been putting on events, and I've been going down there, and they bought a load of tables today. They've really helped me to kind of organise a load of the stuff for this event. So I'm really grateful to ProTech.
I'll put their link in the description as a nice one.
Yeah, it's good.
Check out ProTech.
ProTech and Games in York, who have been like so helpful. Ross at Games just helped us out so much as well to just make sure we got all the things that we needed for the prizes, made sure that that we got what we wanted. So thank you to him as well. Absolutely excellent. Go and shop there as well. It's excellent.
Wicked.
Yeah.
So there's tournaments coming up. There's like is there an established meta, or is there quite a lot of diversity? I've looked around and seen a pretty wide selection of models.
So the meta kind of. So this is my view on the meta, right?
It's all right. We like hot takes.
Hot take. The meta is basically the people you play with, right? Or the game as you are involved in it with the people around you that play it, right? So there are things that are stronger than others in the game, but I would say that the bell curve, like the gap between what's at the bottom and what's at the top, and this is quite sort of a widely sort of accepted view, I think, it is quite close. So the gap, there aren't things, you haven't got wildly sort of overpowered models in the game that are just like, stomping everything. There have been times in the game where that has been the case, but the developers and the community have worked together to kind of make sure that those things are brought into line in good time.
Yeah, someone was telling me about this. Someone was telling me about a model that I saw Norbert had, this big wing.
Malekith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were like, whoa there.
Yeah.
Tone it down, tone it down.
It came out, it was really, really strong. It was a bit of a negative play experience for some people that were new and wanting to play, because it was just like, delete.
Steamrolling people.
Yeah. But it quite quickly got addressed, and now it's come down to a nice level where it's still good. It's still, like a powerful piece on the table, but it's not meta-warpingly so. Yeah. Which is what you don't want in games. We've had that in War Machine.
Loads of times.
For a
Someone
year.
come up, you're like, what?
Lord of the Feast.
Like,
do you remember that?
Oh, God.
Haley 2.
Horrible. Yeah, horrible.
But we haven't got that here, so.
Yeah. Good, so it's nice and balanced, plenty of events. If people are interested in MCP or have started playing, where are the good groups, website, where should people go and learn more about the game? Is there a lot of Discords, Facebook groups?
Yeah.
Where should people go?
So if you go onto any of like the UK Facebook MCP groups and sort of ask on there and say, you know, I want to get onto a Discord server, there are a number of very good. The Discord community is enormous.
Yeah.
And you can hop on there. You've got like the generic fan MCP group, or you've got Xavier Protocols. They do a really good. They've got as a content creator.
Yeah. Cool. What, that does like videos and stuff, like YouTube stuff? Or?
No, it's like podcast. Oh, there's millions of podcasts as well. You've got Xavier Protocols. You've got Across the Bifrost, which is Pat Dunford.
I know that
you've got Tales of a Crisis, which is Martin, who's just playing behind me over there. And numerous opportunities to get on and listen to podcasts and learn about the game and listen to commentary, and the Discords are excellent. You can find people will link you the if you go onto the UK Facebook groups and ask about the Discord, people will send the links to them. You can just join in and start part of the conversation.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And if people want to know more about this event for next, I'm assuming it's going to be a regular. Well, we'll see how it goes. We're only one round in, but it seems like it's going pretty well.
We're one round in, but so far the feedback's been positive.
Seems happy.
We're very fortunate, aren't we? Because we've got the ability to use this venue.
This
which
venue's
is
amazing.
Excellent for this kind of event.
Yeah,
you know,
it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So just to describe it, I mean, I'll probably put in the video. Maybe while we're talking about this, I'll put a video in explaining.
Yeah.
But this is basically part of the York Racecourse. It's where the jockeys and stuff stay, right? The stable side.
Stable side.
So it's on the site of the York Racecourse, but it's a whole independent unit.
Yeah.
It's got kitchen. It's got rooms for everybody that stays.
Yeah.
Decent rooms. We're doing an MTV Cribs later.
All of the rooms are literally joined to the hall that we're sat in now.
Down there,
down there. So everyone's rooms are there.
Yeah.
We've got an upstairs room. There's 16 tables.
That's where we are now.
Downstairs rooms. It's 14. I can't do maths, but we've got half of it's upstairs, half of it's downstairs.
There's a kitchen that serves food for breakfast.
Bar.
Yeah, there's a bar here.
Yeah, food's provided, all for a very good price. And it's just perfect for this kind of event.
Yeah.
And we've got access to it as Next Generation Gaming, and henceforth, this is for everyone, and it's our event, our community, you know, everyone together. So yeah, brilliant.
Love it. It's great. It's going to be a regular thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to learn how to play MCP.
You should.
Or maybe I just watch from the sidelines and troll people. I like doing that.
It's not like
I like this vibe. I mean, like, oh, that looks terrible, Liam. Looks like you made some awful mistakes. Bless him. Oh, well, good on you, mate. It's really good. I'm glad to be part and do what I can for
man.
Next Generation Gaming. I feel like this is the start of a lot more really exciting stuff to come.
Definitely. And we've got a lot of other tournaments coming on at the actual club, like lower
other systems as well.
So all sorts coming. We're on the map as a city that's providing good tournaments for gamers, for all kind of systems. Yeah, and it's us, Next Generation Gaming.
Well done, mate. Good job.
Good job.
Next Generation Gaming. Yeah, cheers for talking to me, mate.
No worries. Cheers.
Congratulations on winning. There we go. And in the middle of us recording. Great to meet you, mate. Cheers for jumping on and chatting to me. Right. So tell us a bit about yourself. You've been playing this game for a while. You've got your own community on the go. You've got a podcast on the go. Tell us about it.
I've been playing for probably coming up to 2 years. So I started off running a website, which was basically a blog during lockdown when it was a bit harder to get any games in. More recently, we moved to a YouTube channel with 10 subscribers off 1,000. We're that close.
Yeah,
so we're doing that about.
Plug it. What's the channel? Plug it.
Web Warrior Protocols.
Nice.
Because original with the name, play Web Warriors. Just thought, why not? Let's crack on with that. But I play board in Brum, which is sort of really, really great scene for Marvel. We've got loads of player there, loads of terrain, which is always great.
Yeah.
Everyone moans at me on the channel about not changing up the terrain on the battle reports. I'm going to have to grab some from Mib at some point. I've done 30 battle reports with almost the same terrain, but it is what it is.
It is what it is.
That's
nice one.
Pretty much what I've been doing.
So did you play anything before MCP then? What games did you play into?
I've played almost every game, but I haven't really ever played one competitively.
Yeah.
So before MCP I was playing MESBG, so Lord of the Rings miniature game by Games Workshop. Look, everyone's played 40k.
Everyone's done 40k.
So
what's 40k? Everyone's gone down that route.
And Legion, to be fair. I enjoyed Star Wars Legion for a bit. Yeah. But Marvel's the first one I properly went in on. I think this is my 45th event. Something ridiculous like that. So.
That's a good effort, mate. You must be you're hammering the tournament scene.
Yeah. So currently, I think I'm at the top again, which is nice until Pat beats me, and then I'll drop down.
Don't worry about him. We'll put him off.
Yeah, man.
So we'll get in his head. All the X1 machine guys will get in his head.
Yeah. He's going to buy him loads of drinks. It'll be fun.
So what do you like about the game then? What's the thing that kind of draws you in and keeps you making all that content?
So, mostly, it's the fact that in 40k, for example, I know we always go back to 40k, just ignore. In 40k, I had an orc army, which I loved, but it's not a game where you can just take the stuff you want and enjoy it and have the same experience. If you don't really like chase a codex or build optimized list, you really will struggle. Yeah. And it sometimes has an effect even on casual games because you rock up. I've got like a bunch of Orc Walkers, you've got a bunch of Space Marines, and we know it's going to go one way, I'm going to get table. Yeah. Whereas with MCP, I've only ever really played Web Warriors. Through thick and thin, through all the changes, updates, and whatever. Luckily, they've not been changed too much. Yeah. But the game's never in a position where you come up a roster and go, oh, great, I can't do anything. It's never, oh, this is that list. Like, you'll get rosters, like, and you'll go, oh, it's a really good team, it's a really good roster, but it's never, all right, I might as well write this one off before the game. And
there's a bit of balance in the selection as well, right? You have extra players.
Yeah, so you have a roster of 10, and then once you know the threat value for the game, then you build a team based on threat value. But one of the other great things about Marvel is there's no limits on who can go with who, really. So you can have a roster of 10 characters. For example, my current roster, it's a Web Warriors roster, so 6 of the characters are Web Warriors, but then there's 4 other characters in there, which are basically what are called splash characters, so you just splash them in out of affiliation. So it means if there was ever a character that come out for, say, Asgard, like, say, Beta Ray Bill, and everyone was moaning about how good he is or how much he looks like a duck or whatever, you're not then limited by going, oh, I don't have access to that. Everyone could take him. So there's never like, oh, he's playing the strongest affiliation because of X, Y, and Z, because you can just go, well, I really like Scarlet Witch from Brotherhood, I'll put her in my Web Warriors.
And is there any negative effect to doing that?
Not really. So to get a leadership bonus, you need to have at least 51% of the characters in your roster affiliated. So if you end up playing 5 characters wide, 3 of them need to be, say, Web Warriors, for example. The other 2 can be any combination, really. You get more synergy from running more affiliated characters. So again, web heads, there's a card called All Webbed Up. You get some extra attack dice for a round, but it only works on your Web Warrior characters, so you're better to load up heavily on those rather than splashing in the other characters at times. It just helps merge the synergy and everything the way it works. Nice. And there's other tactics cards like Criminal Syndicate. It's an amazingly powerful card, but only Criminal Syndicate characters can pay power towards it. So then obviously you're rewarded by having 3 or 4 characters to make sure that at that pivotal moment you've got the power to sort of play that card. Do you know what I mean?
And how easy, you mentioned like 40k and stuff, and 40k, there's just so many rules, the depth of the rules is just like, wow. What's MCP like in comparison? You've got a new player that's interested, what's that journey like?
I think it's one of the most accessible games. I don't think I've ever seen someone have to pull up a rule book, because each character has a character card with everything they do on, everything explained. So you'll have your character card, it'll have all the defences, their health, the speed they move at, the threat they cost, what size they are, the different attacks, different superpowers. You literally don't need to get a book or a codex or anything. And you get that with the characters. There's no sort of paywall where it's, oh, I've bought these characters, now I'll go and get the cards. There has been an updated card pack, but that's more of like a slight balance thing. But there's by no means have to get it. AMG, luckily Atomic Mass Games have said and approved just printing the cards off, including with new
I've seen a few people doing that. I've seen that about. So all the rules come with the cards. It's always a good sign of a game. We used to get this with War Machine when people aren't getting loads of rule books up. Just a nice streamlined system.
Very, very, very rarely. I don't think I've ever had to get a rule book up at an event.
Because everything's just there in front of you.
Everything's on the card.
The rules
and all the rules are written in a way that once you know them, they're very clear cut and clear worded. There's very little ambiguity. I mean, early on in the game, there was a couple of things, but that's early development of the game. The game had only been about for like a year, 2 years. People getting used to it. But now that sort of those few minor things have been ironed out, they've got a really active FAQ type thing. There's a guy called Nagoldar that's basically like the mouth of Sauron for Atomic Mass Games. So if you've got a rules question, he'll just basically answer it when he gets a chance. His words essentially final. He's like the rules lawyer expert. He's a really sound guy. I don't envy the amount of questions he must have asked, because every time a new character comes out, as I said, you can take it with any other character. So you imagine one character comes out and you've got to compare how it interacts with 120 others and 20 other affiliations, but he still manages to do it. As I said, I can't think off the top of my head any rules at the minute that need FAQing or that have any kind of real ambiguity.
Well, that's always a good sign. So you're probably one of the most travelled players that you're going to. You're obviously like very skilled at the game, doing really well in the community. What is there? Is there like a meta forming and like a group of people that you're seeing at multiple events?
Yes, you definitely see certain groups of people more at events. Lately, I've not managed to get to as many. I was absolutely lost.
You've still been to 40 odds. What was it?
Oh yeah, I've been to like 40. There's not been that many recently. Last year it was like 30 events or something crazy.
We're only in February.
Yeah, this is true. I think I've done 3 this year or 2, so a few. But there's people that like you see at every event. You know, you've got like Norbert and Pat. Both really great players, really great guys, play at Bad Moon.
Yeah, they play at Bad Moon,
Anytime there's an event there, I'd imagine they're both there. Ron goes to like every event he gets a chance. No, there's other groups, sort of the Pro Tech guys, so Amphpool, all of them sort of travel about whenever there's a big event, like they'll all come down today. So you do get these pods of people. I don't think there's like a meta that's massively formed. I think the game goes through phases where there's like a boogeyman, which is so I do a podcast with a guy called House Party Protocols in America. So we always talk about like who's the current boogeyman of Marvel Crisis Protocol, and for a while it's been Thanos. Which is fair because he is inevitable.
Yeah, I was watching Thanos play yesterday. Like he seems like
he's a bit mad.
I mean, you'd expect that from the lore, though, right? Like Thanos is never going to be.
No, not at all. Thanos is like an 8-threat character to put it into perspective.
Oh, Brett's just about to absolutely blast us on the PA, so we'll just cut and then calls back.
Just to let everyone know, the painting competition tables are open, and we've got everything identified in terms of small, medium, large, and full roster. Thank you.
And we are back.
We're back. Are you entering the painting competition? You're thinking about it?
I might. It is actually the first time I've ever been to an event with my own fully painted roster ever.
Oh, mate, there you go. You've got to take advantage. Get it slapped down.
I have, but they're not very good. It's like a very quick black, red and white Sin City scheme. But I might put them forward and see what happens.
Probably better than what I used to paint, mate, when I was playing one. You should have seen some of the stuff I slapped down.
So I had some Kaidor and they just looked atrocious. It was so bad.
It's just about enjoying the process. You know what I mean, not the end result. You just got to enjoy it. So you've got like this. It seems like you've got like a good community of people that are moving around playing. There's like loads of. Mike was telling me about all the different Discords that exist. He was telling me about the content that you guys are doing. Seems like it's really blossoming and growing.
Yeah, it's doing really, really well at the minute. To be fair, as you said, there's loads of Discords. There's a lot of American-based ones. Me and a guy called Rich Mid, who I think you're going to have on here in a minute, run one called the Savage Lands. It's not a reflection of the behaviour, very civil, I promise, which is pretty cool. Yeah. There's loads of content creators, and sort of each one will have like their own little community and their own group chats. Like my group chat to my events are called the Illuminati and the Illuminati Invitationals. Yeah. So that's just sort of what my group, but everyone mixes in. The great thing is using Longshanks, which is sort of like...
Yeah, mention that. Tell us about Longshanks. I was really impressed with that.
So the main thing that Longshanks is basically an awesome way to run events. It's really useful as a TO. Players can put their scores in, and I'm not speaking just for Marvel Crisis Protocol at all. So I've run 2 Lord of the Ring events this year. I've used Longshanks for him, absolutely perfect, no problems at all. So in essence, it's a really good free-to-use tournament scoring system. Guy that runs it, Red Sam, his Discord name, he's based in America, I believe. Absolute legend, super responsive. Any problems on the site, you just drop him a message, and he'll fix it there and then, really. But that's what it is. There's a bunch of other stuff that's a bit more controversial that comes along with Longshanks.
Go on, we'll have a bit of controversy.
So there's like a player ranking system, which is like a world leaderboard type thing, which is pretty cool. I always feel awkward speaking on it because people always go, well, I'm going to like it because I'm at the top. But it's like, I just think it's pretty cool. You can get like badges based on how many games you've played. So I've got like a webmaster badge.
I'm not surprised all these. You also have a hell of a lot of badges.
Yeah. Not as many as Ron. I've got like 4 and Ron's on like 16. So Ron's like, I was the top ranked Web Warrior player until Mike DeLuca took it, but I took it back. And then Ron was like top ranked affiliation for like 7 different affiliations. So the guy's just an absolute animal.
Machine.
Yeah, just an absolute monster. The problem with Ron, he'll rock up and you have no idea what he's going to play. Just blag your head. So yeah,
that sounds a good system though. Like people have sometimes. I guess in any community have different views of like
for sure.
ranking that sort of thing.
I think some people worry that it's a little bit insular and that it can be off-putting to newer players. You know, sort of coming in and going, you've got all these ranking points, but it's completely optional. Like, there's nothing making anyone really.
And if you don't care about it, just don't care about it. It's one of them things where, like, if you don't care, don't look and don't care.
And I'm pretty sure that if you want to go a step further, you can opt out of it. On like on your long chance account, which means you don't even show up in the first.
Sounds like a great. It just sounds like that sounds like a good system.
Yeah, it's amazing, and it's not just Marvel and Lord of the Rings. There's like 12 game systems on there. So you've got Marvel, Lord of the Rings. I'm pretty sure Guild Ball was run through it for the majority of its time. Yeah. Playing the players, not the game. No idea.
Let's not go there.
Never played it. No idea at all. Please don't hate me. But yeah, it's just cracking. It's a really good system.
Yeah, nice one.
So they're using it for this event. I've used it at all the ones I've run. I think the majority of the ones I've been to now have used it. So it's good to see more people adapting it and sort of getting past that sort of debate about ranking points and whatnot and just accepting that actually put that aside. It's a really, really useful, really efficient piece of software. Do you know?
Yeah, it sounds great. And what do you think of the event here then? Like, what do you think of this experience and stuff?
So we rocked up yesterday at like 10 o'clock. Sorry, we left at 10 o'clock. Time's gone out the window, by the way. Left at like 10 o'clock, got here at 1. I jumped into like a 8-player 3-round mini tournament thing, which was great. So played a couple of really good games there. Managed to get another game in versus Rich Mid and I absolutely smashed him because he's going to talk utter crud about me anyway.
He's going to talk total nonsense.
Get in there first. Played a bunch of board games, painted up a bunch of characters, just had an all-round laugh. And then the event today, absolutely banging. There's this really cool little thing where across all the tables there's like 6 mini posters with characters on them, and if you find the poster, you win the character pack, which has got to be one of the coolest things I've seen. Like, it's absolutely wicked.
It's a nice touch.
And then on top of all that, there's extra prizes for the mini tournament. You got a whole host of prizes for, first, second, third. I don't even know. I can see like a bunch of trophies over there. Just lots and lots of them. There's a lot to be won. Yeah, lots to be won. So it's absolutely banging.
Wicked.
So far, couldn't recommend it more. It's been really, really good. The venue's amazing as well.
Yeah,
so
it's a great venue. We did a tournament, a War Machine tournament. Years.
My only complaint, I need ear protectors because I'm stuck in a room with Ron and Marcus. And Ron snores like a freight train, and Marcus is like a dying dog. And the two combined, just absolutely atrocious.
Absolute house of horrors.
It's horrible, man. And he even got to bed till like 5 o'clock. Just walked into this cacophony of sounds. Like, wow, I can't deal with this. But yeah, man, it's been really good. Amazing venue. All the sort of TO, I don't know whether to say staff or TOs. All the guys in the lovely pink t-shirts been absolutely wonderful, really useful, really friendly. There's like venue staff on site as well. There's sort of like the breakfasts and drinks. There's like a mini bar here you probably can't see. They've all been awesome. So it's been really, really good.
Nice.
Just overall
good. I'll take that back.
Experience.
Good. We'll take that. Good feedback.
For sure.
And if people are watching and are new to MCP, learning about it, where can they? I'll put it in the description, but tell them a bit about the content that you can create and where they can check out.
The stuff I create, it's sort of like a whole amalgam of things at the minute. So I've still got the website live, but it's a little bit dated now just because of a couple of updates. Still a lot of relevant information if you want to hear like you can sort of see my traversal into the game as I went from being really new. I used to do write-ups on every event. I've done maybe 30 podcast episodes now with various different people.
Do you get quite into the detail and quite competitive take on angle?
Some of them do, but a lot of the time it's really chill because I think it's hard to just go, let's go in on the competitive aspect sometimes. Some people do it, but a lot of the time it's not like you're being... It's not like... Not to rag on 40k, but it's not like you're just taking... what are they called? Like Leagues of Votan, where it's we're just taking the best codex. It's like, you're taking a certain thing and using it in a certain way, and it's the application that gives it its strength, not just the raw power of like a unit. Do you know what I mean? Because as I said, Thanos is a bogeyman at the minute, but if someone has Thanos and has never used him, they're going to really struggle because it's actually quite complex. So that's sort of the stuff we cover in the podcast. I've done loads of house party protocols. Run by a guy called Will in America. He's super chilled. He does weekly podcasts. An absolute madman that he is.
What a machine!
It's just an animal. It's just an absolute creature, like. But fair play. Got to write it. Other than that, we've got about 30 battle reports up now on our YouTube channel, which is Web Warrior Protocols as well.
Sweet.
we tend to take a much more relaxed approach to it. I know a lot of people have been asking, like, oh, I want to see like a competitive game, or I want to see the roster you play an event. So we might start doing some of those soon, but for now there's 30 battle reports on there, one with every affiliation, just so that if you're new to the game and you go, oh, I like the idea of Wakanda, you can go onto the channel, find the Wakanda battle report and have a look how they play, really.
Sweet. Nice one. I'll put it all in the description if you want to check it out. And good luck. I'll be watching you through the days, mate.
So
good luck at the
game
event.
one's gone okay. Hopefully I get a chill game too, just because I'm still half dead. I've had about 7 hours sleep in the past 3 days, but it'll be fine.
Oh, you'll be fine. You're a well-oiled machine with this. You don't put your tournament.
Everyone's like, no one thought I was going to get up this morning, and I was like, guys, I've got 10 minutes. What are you on about? So it's just like cracking. Breakfast is still on my bed in the bowl, not even been eaten. Like, absolute savagery, but yeah. Cheers for having me on.
Yeah, nice one. Yeah, great speech.
And I think you're going to have Rich on next, so good luck with that, because he's an absolute menace. He's going to tell you that I didn't smash him last night, but you heard it here first.
I'll edit it out if he starts talking.
And now, just for later on tonight, he wants to have another game where he'll use my roster and I'll use his.
Oh, it's really,
So I'm all for it. I'm all for the smoke.
Bring him
so
on.
let's just go, really. But yeah, cheers. I'll send Rich up to you. He's probably busy talking out his arse, but I'll grab him to you. All right, cheers.
All right, mate. Good luck, buddy. We thought it would be good to chat about like the community side of the event. Not just about like the games that people playing, but the other things that are going on around it.
Yeah,
so if someone, like for the players that have turned up today, what's the whole experience been like from kind of a community perspective? What sort of things have been going on?
So that's one of the reasons why we started this event as it is to get that kind of community feel to it. From personal experience, when I go to an event, I'm always disappointed because you go there, you travel possibly hundreds of miles with the same people you play week in, week out.
Awful people.
The worst people, yeah. But then you're stuck in a hotel room with them, then you go out for a meal with the same people, and then you don't actually get to talk to anybody that you've actually played a game with. Because the event times are normally quite tight, the venue closes, etc. Then you've got to go and stay in a dodgy Premier Inn somewhere and get a dodgy takeaway or something. So what I really wanted to do is create something that you could go and play your games in a relaxed atmosphere. There's sort of no time constraint because the venue doesn't close. And then you've got the ability to then talk to your opponent after the games are finished, and then when your games at the tournament are finished, the venue doesn't close. Everyone's staying in the same place, playing casual games. You can have a rematch maybe with the person that you've lost to or the person you've smashed and prove that you can do it again. But people can then come and just play whatever they want. So it's board games, card games, all that sort of stuff. So like on the Friday, people started arriving at 12. It was awesome. There was people downstairs who were playing loads of different board games I've never seen before. A real mishmash of people meeting up in a new venue. And
that's great. It's a bit like the American convention type thing where people turn up and they stay on site. So it's like people are just living. Sleeping.
They're sleeping
in the corridor. They're trying to live.
Hopefully going to go on Sunday, but
we hope so.
They're not leaving.
A few will stay. I mean, there's a few nomads here that are like,
There's
just thought I'd stay to clear them out. No, but there's a little bit of that feel to it, isn't there? People playing other games on an evening.
Yeah, definitely.
And hanging
so
out.
it's the American convention style type thing, but we don't have multiple events going on over the weekend. So just the 64-player event, which is great. So lots of people want that sort of competitive element. But for those that don't, you can join in obviously with the 64-player event. But outside of that, there's so many other things you can do. We've been running the scrambles, which are the little 8-man tournaments. 8-person tournaments.
So woke.
So we've got the encounters as well that people will play. So just really cool stuff that's not necessarily competitive focused, but then assembled around a 64-player tournament. We've had some really good support as well from like the community. So we've had EH Games, which is our local
yeah,
store.
Mike plugged the stores and stuff.
I can do it again. He's that good. He needs it twice.
Yeah, he did. He did seem a really nice guy. He had a good vibe.
Yeah, he's lovely as well. And then ProTech as well. They've been really good at supporting us as well.
Great.
So it means we've got all the encounter stuff for people to play as well. So we've got those as well for next time. So anybody fancies an encounter, have not had chance to play any of those in their own meta, we have them all available.
How quick did the tickets go and stuff for this event? Like, what was selling the tickets
we were surprised initially because we're so used to the War Machine event that we've run previously here, which would sell out in less than 48 hours because it's so popular. But moving to this MCP, obviously we'd never run it as an MCP event before, and the community what I've found from my personal experience is obviously it's relatively new. So the game started, I think, in 2020, then COVID hit. So that's obviously a massive disruption to the sort of in-person
Aaron
events.
was saying about this, about like a lot of people started playing like tabletop simulator and stuff just to like get games in.
Absolutely, but then they're playing each other, but not in person, which is obviously the way that the game is designed to be played in person, and obviously it's why most of us play it. It's nice to have that personal interaction. But because of that, most of the community hadn't really melded. I don't know whether they've not merged or there's obviously loads of events going on around the country which you can see being advertised, but they're more sort of a locality thing. They're all local. I know there's been a big team event and there's been some other larger events.
Yeah.
But they haven't had the sort of event like this that can give the community a bit of a cohesion. So it's really nice to see some people here that they've all met each other online, but actually getting to meet each other in person for the first time as well. So it's really
that's
cool.
great. And what's the kind of plan? What's the plan going forward? You wanting this to be like a regular slot in the calendar, like a
absolutely,
solid
yeah. So we'd done that for War Machine, so it was a regular thing yearly. So as long as people like it and they want it to come back, then it definitely will. And my prediction is that next time it will sell out much quicker because people are going to want to come back. It's a really cool event. It's quite unique, and it provides all the boxes that people want, competitive edge, but also the really cool social and interaction event between people.
And what have you? Because obviously, like me and you've played. Well, we played War Machine for ages now, and that's like how when I first met you. You first got me into the York Club through. I just rocked up and was like, I've heard about this game War Machine. We started playing. So you've got years and years and years of War Machine under your belt, and that's how the game that me and you have talked about more than any other game.
Yeah.
How does MCP hold up next to War Machine? Good and bad. Like, give us a balanced view of like where it's at.
So I am now 7 games in to MCP. So before this event, I'd played 4, and I've really enjoyed it. So I've bought in on it. So I've got loads of stuff now. Mike's championed it in our group and sort of got people playing it. When I first looked at it from outside, I thought, do you know what? It looks a little bit beer and pretzels, maybe a bit gimmicky. Maybe there's only a few models and chucking terrain around. And I thought, well, it's a nice simple game just to pass my time. But the more I've played it, the more I realise actually how deep it can be if you want it to be. So it does have that real competitive edge as well. If you want that from it. I really like the models. I didn't think I was going to, so I'm not a massive Marvel fan at all. I don't read the comics or anything. I've watched the films, but I couldn't tell you who half the characters are. So that's not something that's appealed to me. But the miniatures themselves are really nice, like really easy to put together.
Yeah, they're all really dynamic out there.
And they're enjoyable to paint. To be honest, they don't have the massive detail that a lot of the stuff that I'm used to painting has. Sort of weird gold filigree down the edges of the armour and stuff. So it's
Scorn.
Yeah, the Scorn. Yeah. So luckily there's none of that. So I can paint models much quicker, and you can spend a bit more time because you've got the individual characters rather than massed units. So I quite like that element as well.
What about the rules side of things? What's the good and bad?
The good is the alternating activation. That's really cool, but the way that allows both players to engage in the game all the time.
Yeah, not just getting like panned in a turn.
Exactly, he's not spending 30 minutes watching somebody else move their models around. But also it means that there's a tactical advantage to that as well. So you can manipulate the way the activations work. So if you want to, it's about winning priority. Yeah. So that's an element of the game you can play as well. Negative side.
Dice.
It's just dice.
Everybody said those words.
Oh man, I can't. So this is what I'm struggling with currently. Is I can't get my head round how the dice work, and I just need to get over the fact that they can be quite swingy.
Yeah.
Because the success rate is higher than the defense rate, which is fine. But the variance on them is just very, very unreliable.
Because it's a D8, it sends the odds into like ridiculous
level.
Yeah,
it does, and then obviously they spike in criticals as well. So I mean, you can roll a 10 dice attack, for instance, and reliably expect there to be 5 successes within that, and that just doesn't really happen. But let's say it does, but your opponent's then rolling defense dice, so that offsets your expectation.
Yeah.
So if they're rolling 4 dice, but they're counting, obviously, for instance, blanks or skulls or something like that, it's going to skew the dice maths as well, so what you expect to happen. So that's just something I just need to get my head around, having not
Yeah.
played it very much. So I'm used to a War Machine where I'm rolling two dice, add them together. I've got a reliable bell curve to work to that I know roughly what results I'm going to
Yeah.
get.
And I think War Machine's unique in that respect, because like, I've obviously been playing other games and thinking and chatting about it. And I think War Machine is quite unique as to like how it's the consistency of needing to roll certain numbers, 7s or 10s.
Yeah.
It kind of, over the course of a game, levels out. Whereas a lot of games outside that don't really have that repetitive
And
odds mechanic.
And a lot of the elements and abilities in War Machine just happen. So let's say in a game system where you've got an ability or an effect, you want it to work, that's great. You just apply it and it works. So in MCP, a lot of things happen on triggers. So you're reliant on a dice to get a certain result in order for an ability to happen. And you can't really rely on that all the time because it doesn't happen. So that's quite unusual as well. So obviously you take a model to provide an element of support and it doesn't always do what you want it to do. But sometimes maybe that's cool. So it gives a bit of, I don't know, maybe the unpredictability in the game means that you don't just auto win. You know, the dice can swing against you or for you as well.
Yeah. Seems good. I just had my first intro game with
I saw
Brett
that.
Wilkie downstairs.
Yeah. How was he? Was he gentle with you?
It was horrendous to play. No,
I'm sure he was a gentleman.
no, he was great. Yeah, it was a nice chill game. Kurt turned up and helped me for a little bit, and Rhino started doing things that I like absolutely could not understand on the card. He was like bouncing around everywhere.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, there seems a lot of depth.
Yeah, there's a lot of depth. So placement is something obviously in War Machine that's really important, and obviously in a lot of games, but in MCP is incredibly important because you've obviously got 2 actions that you need to make per turn. So being able to get excellent placement allows you to get the most efficiency out of each character every turn. So yeah, I've been really impressed with the level of depth to that as well. So placement's a really cool thing. That's similar-ish to War Machine, definitely.
The thing I've reflected on as well is just games are good when you're playing with your mates and like people that you enjoy spending company with.
Yeah, definitely. That's
like that helps. Like all the flail lot are playing. Like there's just a lot of good characters.
Well, it's quite fun actually. I've just been complained at because Longchance has put all the guys from the flail bunch all playing each other on the same tables next to each other. So
yeah, well, no, but they're not good people. They deserve each other.
That is true. That is very true.
They all deserve each other. Well, good job, Gav. This is, I've obviously was involved in the War Machine once.
Yeah.
I've been involved in some way with this one. In a roundabout kind of. What are you laughing at? I've been helpful.
You have.
I've
been
done one
helpful.
bloody John. Where's John? I'm joking. John's done a lot of shifts. He's done a lot of hours. But
so,
yeah, it's
nice to have this set up. I mean, this stuff you've got going on is really cool. So it's nice to have that.
Yeah, no, it's nice. We'll have people see it. And we can use it to promote next year. People want to get a vibe for what the event's like.
Absolutely. So reach out to us, message us on Facebook or wherever this is being posted.
It's on our YouTube.
Excellent. We can give you some more info for when it's happening next time.
Yeah. And will there be other events that Next Generation Gaming do that are MCP?
Yeah, definitely. So we're running some one-day events here in York on Sundays coming up. So dates for those will be published if people are interested.
Lovely. All right, mate. Thanks for chatting to me on here.
No, cheers, mate.
Nice to
Good to see
hear your voice. Yeah, good to see you. It's been ages. And we'll see you about.
Cool. Cheers, bud.
So yeah, how have you found your games today and last night?
Yeah, really good. I'm fairly new to I don't want to say competitive games, but even just coming away and doing the bigger events. I've done a lot of one-day events. This is only my second 2-dayer, and absolutely loved it. Me and the guys, we were up until I think 3:30, maybe 4 in the morning playing games. We managed to get some Outer Rim in. We played some Unfathomable and then some MCP at the end. But the social side of it is so good.
Yeah,
that's one of the things that I really, really enjoy about gaming in general.
Yeah. And where do you play at the moment then? Are you playing the lead shop?
I play all around really. So I play at Olympus War Games in Pontefract. I also play at Leodis as well.
That's the Leeds one, is it?
Yeah, the one in Leeds. Yeah, just in Farsley. Nice. But yeah, I mean, there's a really good group in the UK, and as you've seen here, there's so many guys come over from Ireland, come up from London, from down in Birmingham way. So there's a good group of us, and you'll see people from all over the UK, really irrespective of which one of the stores that you go to. There's probably 9 or 10 really good venues now that are doing a really good job with MCP. And a lot of that comes from the community, the guys that have stepped up, because it's often not the shop owners themselves, it's a couple of individuals that are passionate about the game that sort of push the agenda and get the dates booked in and things, and really try and get the people there. And some of them are here today that have done a fantastic job of raising the profile of the game.
Great. And a lot of people have talked to me about the community and about this event and stuff. So I was interested. I mean, how long have you been playing MCP for?
Almost since day one. Okay. Probably about 6 months after release.
And did you play a lot on TTS with?
I did. Yeah. Well, I think I bought my core box, and then a week later we went into lockdown. So I'd had one demo game, and then I had to wait like a year and a half, 2 years to actually have a real game. So yeah, played a lot on TTS, which, over lockdown was a godsend. Got to meet a lot of the guys that are here virtually, and again, but being able to come and meet them in person
that's awesome.
Is really good.
And what are some of the best lists and factions at the moment? Then what are, if we were to look at the score computers just on the side of us, what would you predict to be the sort of top? What's the word? Teams, lists, what's
so in MCP, yeah, there's a couple of things that you have. So the first thing that you have to have is a roster. So your roster is basically your list of characters and any tactics cards, and also the missions as well, because one of the, I think, fairly unique, at least different to any other game I've played before, is nothing's predetermined. You take your box of things that you're bringing with you, and based on whether you win priority or not, your opponent's got a set of 6 cards, you've got a set of 6 cards, you pick 2 of them at random, so 1 of each, and each of them have a threat level. So whereas when you turn up to other games, GW, MESBG, whatever else it is, you'll be playing at 600 points or 9,000 points or however many millions of points Age of Sigma are into now. But you really have to think. There's a lot more prep work goes into it with MCP, I think, because there's a lot of moving parts, and getting the wrong scenarios, getting even the wrong shape of maps can really, really affect different teams depending on whether you're more attrition based, depending on whether you're more control based. So yeah, it's a real balancing act at the moment. So the roster's the first thing, and then once you are into the game, you then select your squad, which is basically a combination of any number of characters up to the given threat value of the missions that have been chosen. And character values range from right now 2 being the lowest in the game, all the way up to 8, which is the most expensive, with obviously 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7 in the middle. And the threat level of a mission can be anywhere between 15 and 20 threat. So you've really got to make sure that you have a good blend of 2 threats, 3 threats, 4 threats.
Because you want to hit that point value. You don't want to be like an 18-point game, you've got 16 points or something. You're like,
if you're playing a threat down, 1 threat in this game is a huge amount. If you look at the differences between what a 3-threat character can do and what a 4-threat character can do, it can be quite vast. So yeah, making sure you maximise your threat level is quite an important part.
I've just had my first intro game. I had Toad. Is he like 2 points?
Very good.
I mean, that seems like a good. I was getting a lot of value out of him for 2 points.
He's definitely in the upper echelon of the 2-point characters. Yeah. Very much more the control style. He's got ways of being able to get away from combat. He's very slippery. Obviously, he's a Toad, and he's one of the only character in the game that can interact from outside of range 1, so range 2, which sounds crazy, but it's actually 3 times the distance of what other characters can interact from, which is quite a key thing for him.
So me and Mike were looking at the results as we're coming in, and Mike obviously has played a lot, and we were talking about how, and if I'm just completely talking out my depth here, help me out fast.
Not a problem at
we're
all.
Talking about Guardians and how they have a lot of ranged attacks and lots of re-rolls, and Mike had noticed that to start with they were doing quite well, but they've slowly started to drop down. And me and Mike were kind of talking about, is there something in the, because obviously you've got the dice mechanic, which are D8s. So D8s, I've noticed dice, sometimes you're like, bang, 7 hits, other times you've not got anything. So Mike was kind of theorising that maybe some of those lists that rely on dice rolls have started to drop down, as the other lists that have come up are the more strategies that care less about the dice, but instead about, like you mentioned, with movement, placement, score, not relying so much on the dice. Is that a fair observation, or actually can Guardians play a fairly dynamic game and the dice are relying on the dice is fine?
Yeah, it really depends. I think with this game, you know, especially for a new player coming into it, and a new player that's looking to maybe, better themselves and play at a reasonable level. Relying on the dice is never something you want to do. The dice in this game are very, very spiky. They have what's called a crit mechanic. So most times where you are rolling dice for either attacks, for defenses, or even for dodge rolls, because all the terrain in Marvel Crisis Protocol is fully interactable. You pick it up and yeet it at people across the board. There's one of those D8s is a crit, and at the second part of the dice phase, or the second part of the roll phase, you add additional dice in for every crit that you've got. So all of a sudden, a 3 or 4 size dice pool. When you look at other games, it's a D6. It's a really nice, easy curve, and you know what the mean's going to be, and you can predict it. Whilst there's averages in MCP, it's a lot less harder to predict what the outcome will be. And I think a lot of players, I think, get maybe put off a little bit by it at first because having bad dice can feel really bad. But being able to play around that, because there are other ways to be able to both do damage in the game, but ultimately, it's about scoring the VPs. First to 16 wins, or within 6 rounds. And back to your question around Guardians, why they've maybe sort of petered off a little bit. I think right now, where we are in the game, everyone's still sort of finding their feet. We had a huge update at the end of 2022. And one of the things that Atomic Mass Games did, they're the manufacturer of the studio that builds the game. Those Crisis cards that I mentioned, they released a brand new set of 22 Crisis cards, which are essentially the missions that we play, completely free of charge to download from the website, completely free. It introduced, I think, 3 or 4 new maps. It removed some of the feel-bad mechanics that were in the game. In the past, we had a lot of single objective missions where there was only one opportunity to score points, and if you got that on a big tanky character like a Juggernaut or a Rhino that's recently been introduced, it can take a lot then to take that character down, and you are then relying on those dice to do the job for you. So they sort of leveled the playing field a little bit. The game feels a lot better than what it did in 2022 now. But I think, with a shift like that in the game, people are really still finding their feet as to what's really working at the moment. For me, Guardians are still in a very, very good position. They've just had 2 very good new characters added to their rosters in Agent Venom and Beta Ray Bill, who I think anyone who's playing with them this weekend, the vast majority are unpainted because they only got released a day ago. So, so if people haven't been on TTS, they've not even put the reps in with them yet and worked out what they can do and things. Brotherhood are another really good affiliation at the moment. And then
what are some of the characters that Norbert's behind you? It's trolling you. What are some of the character superheroes in Brotherhood? Is that Kingpin? No. So Brotherhood is all the mutants, so the evil mutants. So Magneto, Mystique, Juggernaut. Mystique, who is a 3-threat leader. So in this game, for your affiliations, each affiliation will have at least one leader, and that leader has a leadership basically. So it's an extra power that they get. It's usually for the benefit of the team. Brotherhood actually have 2. They have both Magneto and Mystique. But because of the way that the game has changed, because of some of the cards that have been taken out of the game, because we have just gone through another rotation, whereas a couple of months ago the meta was very much running tall rosters, sort of tall squads, so 3, maybe 4 characters at the most. Now you're starting to see people wanting to play a little bit wider, so maybe 5 or 6 wide, obviously depending on how much threat you've got to play with. But the one thing I will say is that anyone who comes into this game and is worried about should I play this, is just play what you like, right? There is no affiliation in this game that can't beat another affiliation. Yes, there's some prep work you need to do. Yes, individual characters have their own stat cards and everything else, but ultimately, it's a game of chess once you're out on the board with some random dice thrown in the middle, and it's that randomness that's kind of the leveler. So even the best player in the world can have, a player who's
fairly new to the game, rock up and just spike some dice and just blow them off the board. And that's one of the things I love about it is, you just get those moments where it's like those real comic book moments where all of a sudden out of nowhere, I've had Toad do a Thanos empowered Toad attack where he's been rolling like 9 dice and managing to one-shot a Dormammu and things like that. It's like
the big guy.
Yeah, the big guy. All the crazy stuff that you see in the comic books. They do a really good job of taking that and putting on the battlefield and letting you recreate your own, really.
Yeah. I love the terrain, smashing terrain into people, and that seems like a good way to kind of guarantee good damage.
It is,
because it's just like bang, right, 4 hits.
Yeah, it really is. So, there's not a lot of defensive tech around terrain as well. Now, what you often find is that you need characters who obviously have that ability. Not every character can throw terrain. They need a superpower to be able to do that, or even throw throw other characters around the board as well. So you don't need to roll dice when you're doing that. You just if you pick up a size 4 piece of terrain and throw it into somebody, that's 5 damage going in, and then they need to roll a dodge roll. There are some cards and things that can help mitigate the damage, but it's just great.
It seems good. I'm impressed by it. And if people are watching and want to see, tell us about the content that you put out, and where can people kind of follow your input and expertise on?
So I run a YouTube channel. It's only a small YouTube channel, sort of just over 4,000 subscribers, but
that's not small.
I don't know.
Jesus Christ.
Small compared to some. It's not paying my mortgage, put it that way. But it's Rich Mid Gaming. Whilst we don't exclusively cover MCP, 95% of what we do is, and really where we've tried to aim the content is not just talking about the super high end, what happened, if you've bought everything in the game, what does it look like? Because, a lot of people are coming into it and going, I really love X-Men. So where do I start with X-Men? So one of the things that we do is we release these videos that are called Ultimate Guides. And it's really around taking a new player who's gone and bought the core box and then wants to take that next step of, okay, I bought the core box, I've had a couple of demo games, I've really enjoyed it. Now what do I want to go play? Do I want to be, go be the Spider Guys and play Web Warriors? Do I want to play Guardians of the Galaxy? Do I want to play Brotherhood of Mutants or X-Men or whatever it may be? And we take them through a journey where, okay, these are the first couple of boxes that you maybe should look at buying. This is the kind of roster that you want to be building. And then on top of that, we do a weekly live show where we do a roundup of all the news. AMG are a fairly fast-paced company. It's unusual to not get at least some sort of news from them twice a week, whether that's a new character reveal, whether that's a new stat card for a character, some new tactics cards or something like that. So there's quite a lot of news out there, so we sort of round that all up in a weekly show as well.
Plenty to break down.
Plenty to break down, yes, which is good for a content creator. It's hard when there's nothing, right? It's hard. So,
Hi guys, nothing's going on.
Yep.
Thanks for tuning in.
And in the news today, there is no news.
Yeah. Great, cool. Well, thanks for taking the time out to speak to us, mate. Really appreciate it. I'll put your channel in the description.
Excellent.
And good luck with the rest of your games.
Thank you very much,
Paul. Go Leeds.
Go Leeds. Excellent. Cheers, Paul. Bye for now.
Cheers, mate.
Yes. Where's your pint? You don't have a pint?
I've just got a little bit of Sol left.
Cheers.
This is nice, mate. We've not podcasted together for a hell of a long time. Maybe like 10 years.
I think it was
like
at BonesCon or SmogCon with the PP guys there, remember? And they cut all our stuff out.
Yeah. Holy shit, yeah. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah, we were like, I had a really good chat and they were like, yeah, we've just got to take a few things out. What, like all the good stuff? It's been like, hey, we're here with the PP guys. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on Epic FM. Like, what the hell? Why did they do that?
I don't know. I don't know.
It went to some like comms guy, I think.
Oh, right.
Who was just listening to it and was like,
No,
you can't say any of those things. Too much spoiled. This is nice though.
Spoiled.
Yeah, I know, but you know what they're like. This is nice though.
This is lovely. It's so nice to see you out here again. A big surprise to have you come all the way up from the southern coast of England.
The most southern of the coast now.
Yeah.
Literally like the sea.
Yeah.
Like
the sea's
10 minutes,
getting quite high and it's kind of creeping its way into it.
Yeah, it's not ideal. Tides are coming in. We've known each other for many years now, but do you want to give the viewers a little bit of an intro to yourself and your background in the wargaming world?
Thank you. Thanks so much. Yeah, so my name is Norbert Brunhuber. I go by Dr. Norbert on most of the forums in various ways. I said forums as if those exist still. Sorry, you look at me, obviously, but I am on Discord. I'm not such a technophobe. Okay, so.
You got it all. That's what you're streaming. You're doing the whole thing.
I got everything. Yeah, I'm streaming. I'm hip. Don't.
If people want to find you, what's the best place to hunt you down? Facebook, Twitter.
Yeah, I'm on all of it really. Yeah, all of it. Discord is really popular with MCP crowd, so Discord is probably a good place to catch me, and I'm Dr_Norbert there, so Dr. Norbert, or maybe without the underscore. I forget now.
Link me the best Discord server, and I'll put that in the description.
Right on.
Along with everything else.
Okay.
People can hunt you down there.
Yeah, cool. So, yeah, I've been playing war games for a very long time. Before that, I was a role player, so I started playing in role-playing games. D&D was my jam for a long time. And then after taking a break from gaming for a bit, I actually did computer gaming, but then I went into historical miniatures, so I did that for like 10 years, and then I switched over to War Machine to get a bit more of a competitive kind of a rule set in place, and I played that for 14 years, which is where we met. Yeah. And then I moved into MCP upon its release in like December of 2019.
Nice. Normally people go the other way. Normally people do like competitive wargaming and then go into like historical gaming. And D&D. You went the other way around.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, I was a big history buff growing up, and I took a degree in ancient history as well. And along with my biochemistry degree, as it turns out. And when I discovered miniature gaming, which I didn't really understand before, I did it in a club where I could see some of these battles that I had read about for ages in like 3D, and that you could kind of influence them. So it really blew my mind, and so that's why I got so hard into the historical side of it for a while. But
great.
Yeah, then I got a little tired of the kind of same sort of things because it's dealing with human in reality, and so whereas fantasy games like War Machine, they had the flexibility because it's fantasy to kind of design the rules any which way they like and the characters to do anything they like, and so it became more of an interesting puzzle for me.
Yeah, some of those historical games are a little bit rough.
In what sense?
They're just rule-wise.
Oh, yeah.
A bit one-dimensional. But,
yeah, well, I mean, there's only so ways that you can throw a stick when you're human in real life.
You've been into MCP probably since the start of it emerging in the UK, right? You were early doors.
On release, I got my first demo game from the great Patrick Dunford at Christmas time, so it was just a couple weeks after it released. And it was an epiphany. It was exactly what I was looking for, a change as it was.
Yeah, because we did a bit of AOS together, didn't we?
We did.
We went to Cardiff, and I think we were both having the same kind of like, man, this double turn thing is awful.
Well, that and the fact that the rules are spread over like 5 different books, websites, apps.
I remember us being in the hotel, and you'd be like, where's the rule for this? We'd be like, no idea. Like multiple books, sieving through everything.
Yeah, I was like, not sure about this. And then MCP took off, and so I had so many friends playing it that didn't need to have Age of Sigmar. So,
and you've got a real nice community going at Bad Moon. Again,
I do. Bad Moon Cafe down in London is where we play. We play every Thursday from 6 to 10. We get 2 games a night in every time. We've been getting in 16 players on average.
Whoa, nice.
Yeah, it's been amazing. And then we do a tournament there towards the end of each month, so once a month.
Great. Nice little thriving community down there.
Love it. And the guys at Bad Moon Cafe run it really professionally and really happy to have us there. And so they've been really good partners on this. So commendable.
Awesome.
I'm really grateful to find such a good home. And they keep the place really nice as well.
Yeah, it is a great venue. I've played Sigmar there, Age of Sigmar there for a bit.
Yeah,
it's an awesome venue. And what have you made of the? So you've experienced this event as a War Machine player,
right?
Now you've experienced it as an MCP player.
Yep.
What do you make of it? How's it gone?
Well,
so far, there's still a day left, but
yeah. Look, this meets all the expectations I've had for these kinds of conventions. It's a rarity in London to have in Europe to have these sorts of events. So I take advantage of everyone that comes my way, and I'm never disappointed because they're just so much fun. And this cost effectiveness of this place is unbeatable. It's just unbelievable what a good deal this is.
Yeah. How much were the tickets?
I think it was 120 euro. If only. It was 120 pounds for, and that includes 2 nights stay.
Literally just there. Like,
yeah,
you could be in your room in like 30 seconds.
Literally 30 seconds, if that. And it includes breakfast and lunch on the Saturday and Sunday. and gaming all pretty much all night long if you want to, because it's the place is entirely ours. There are no other muggles here apart from the staff who feed us beer.
I was getting my lunch downstairs, and the lady went to me, sort of like the main person downstairs behind the scenes, and she went, "How's it going? You guys all having a good time?" I went, "It's going really well. Like, venue's great, the staff have been great, everything's going brilliant." She was like, "Oh, you guys have been a real pleasure, actually." She went, "You'd be surprised, we've had some interesting people, some real riots on our hands." And I was like, "What have you had on?" And she went, "We once had the Christians Association, which you would imagine were very relaxed, quite chill, no drama. So they were downstairs and they were up here doing the thing. And then a staff member came down and was like, 'You're going to have to come upstairs, there's like a lot going on.' As they come upstairs, there's loads of shouting, all sorts. It turns out they were doing exorcisms in here."
Right.
And they were just like...
Fantastic.
Like, people, "Oh!" and screaming. It's just like, "Yeah, you're a lot more chill than that." I was like, "Well, I don't think there's any exorcisms planned, but, gyms
have they seen me, though, when my dice go cold? Yeah. Because I think I'm performing my exorcism on myself. It's a disaster when I get salty like that. Oh, I'm so terrible."
Brett's the same. Brett's dice are always like... Brett has a hard time with dice. We always joked with him with War Machine that he could destroy any chance of winning a game through just some high-level horror rolling.
Yeah.
It was like a real specialism that he developed over the years.
Yeah.
From how do you mitigate against... Because there's been a reoccurring theme with the conversations and the depth of the game, the tactics of the game, the position of the game, all very similar to War Machine. How do you get around some of the spikiness that can occur with dice?
Yeah.
Because I think that there's definitely that element of spikiness.
Yes, 100%. You have to accept it to some degree in this game. But I was talking to Gav, the head organizer for the event, about it, because he was mentioning it too. He's only played a few games, and so was just now experiencing it for the first time. And it comes down to this: A, find an affiliation that tries to roll as few dice as possible, like Web Warriors. So it's all about control then, and it's not about rolling dice. You can find characters that have rerolls built into them, which are quite important, which he remarked, he's like, rerolls, what's the big deal? And now he's like, yeah, they are a big deal. And lastly, there are some affiliations that have rerolls built into them. Shadowland Daredevil in Criminal Syndicate, for instance, and Guardians of the Galaxy as well, with their winging it tokens. So you can start to mitigate those sorts of things in three different ways.
And I guess as we saw with War Machine, a game which we both played for many years to a huge depth, mitigating against the randomness of a game is how you get to that like upper
100%
tier, right? It's all about that. And me and Mike were talking about the same thing, looking at some of the results coming in.
Right.
And well, I mean, obviously I've literally only played like one intro game, so this was mainly Mike. I can't profess that I had any knowledge here. And he was saying there's a theme with some of those factions at the top that were more reliant on moving models and less of the like, I'll just do pure damage and get everything killed.
Yeah, no. Yeah, going in for a pure attrition list is not a recipe for success, honestly.
Yeah.
If you want attrition, you need to find things that are more guaranteed. For instance, Brotherhood is fantastic because they can throw so many things, or any faction that can throw a lot of stuff, because then you're not rolling attack dice. You still have to. Your opponent will roll defense dice, and they could spike, right? So that's a problem. But when you guarantee the number of hits based on the throw, because you get, when you throw something, you get automatically that many points of damage.
Yeah.
That helps mitigate those spikes a lot.
Yeah, that sounds very sensible. Brett was saying the same thing, and I didn't realise there's like a number on the bottom of the terrain.
Yeah,
I was like,
they're very
good. How do you
good.
work all the terrain? He's just like, pick up the terrain. Like, all right, cool.
Yeah, but that's because they're
Everything's
professional organizers here. They went through the
not
trouble.
always the case.
That's not always the case at all. If it's MCP terrain, it is molded into the terrain, so that's cool. I mean, not MCP, but official Atomic Madagascar game. But here they put little stickers under each one, and that is the sign of a fantastic organizer. So it's no.
Did you
questions.
find a poster as well? Did you find one of the posters to get a prize?
I didn't, sadly. I know. I was hoping for one.
That was a nice touch as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. Did you show them, the fans? Can you hand me one? I'll show them what it's like. Yeah. So we got these. Everybody got one of these when they registered, and it has the name of the event on it here. But on the back, then it had all kinds of flavorful affiliation-related type of billboards, which are really beautiful. And it's a functional piece of terrain, so it was a fantastic gift. And these are spread out on the tables, and sometimes they say you've won something. So they've like Easter eggs basically that you find. So it's really cool. It was a great idea.
A nice little touch. And what's it? Because again, something that we're both familiar with is the power and importance of a community. I felt like the War Machine community not so much held the game up, but it was why people put so much effort into playing the game. Sure, the rules were great and we enjoyed it, but a lot of it was just about getting people together. What's the MCP community been like? Have you seen a lot of the War Machine crowd I mean, there's quite a few familiar faces here for me, but in your experience, has it brought a lot of the War Machine players? Is it a similar vibe and atmosphere?
It's definitely a similar vibe and atmosphere, and maybe we're spoiled around here because the type of people who go for these more mature games, or maybe just of a different caliber, I don't know. But the feeling, that's an interesting question you pose. The feeling has been fundamentally the same to me, which is a good feeling. But it is not all War Machine players, as it turns out. You can easily see people from War Machine as Guild Ball and X-Wing type is where people seem to be coming from.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I think that I've noticed from playing 40k and AOS that there is a certain type of competitive player that prefers the games like this.
Yes,
and I think that's quite an interesting thing to observe without being, making any judgments or over those groups. But I definitely feel from chatting to people and doing a bunch of interviews that it's War Machine-esque as to like why people are playing the game.
Oh, sure.
Sure, it's fun and they like the human interaction and the rolling of the dice, but there's like a clinical nature to the game that you saw in War Machine that you don't see in other systems.
Well, yeah, clinical is maybe a bit, might have some negative connotation to it, but I know what you're driving at, and maybe I can explain it as, the rules are written in a very tight fashion, they're very straightforward, they're very easy to find. There's a mechanism to get clarifications on rulings that are kind of tricky with the official or organizers, the developers of the game. And so, from that perspective, it's the same like War Machine, and it just sets a certain dynamic in where it really puts all the onus on the player to make good decisions and to try to mitigate when dice aren't going your way and things like that.
Yeah.
Whereas other rule sets that both you and I have been exposed to don't really have that same ethos when it comes to the development of their rules, and so it leads to a different experience, which maybe some people enjoy, but clearly the people here, you don't see them really crossing into those kinds of games. They prefer, if they're going to play anything, they would play things more like War Machine and MCP.
Yeah. The lack of tape measures is great.
Yeah, you like that.
The templates. Yeah, just no. Again, 'cause I've been playing competitive 40k.
Oh, right.
And like, just you get a tape measure dropped and a model moves, and you're like, as a War Machine player, you're like, whoa, that looked really important, and it's moved now.
Yeah, so we'll never know where that model was.
Yeah, but there's no that precision element that in War Machine you wouldn't dream of moving a model that you knew was tight. You'd be like, I'm going to put a measure down.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to knock the model.
Yeah, it is more relaxed. I think people have just gotten over that sort of mindset. And, maybe it's just the gaming community has been moving on a bit from that sort of thing, because there's no reason you couldn't play this game just as tightly. And people do. It's not like it's super sloppy by any means. But people seem a little bit more relaxed about like nudges and whether something's in or not than in War Machine, actually, which is interesting indeed.
Do you think we got in that... You think back to, like, I don't know, the last WTC we were both at. Do you think the community just naturally went down that? Because I certainly noticed a difference. Again, me and you were both at the first ever WTC.
Yep.
And probably the most recent one.
Yep.
And it definitely got sharper in terms of people's level of expectation.
Yeah, there's all those widgets. I mean, there's tons and tons of widgets on the table to try to get every measurement perfect.
Yeah, and you would look at a game and it would just be widgets.
Sometimes, yeah.
It would just be like,
sometimes.
Oh my God. Maybe we went a bit too far. But you're saying this is a much more... although it looks like a precise game,
100%.
but it doesn't look so precise where like it's a millimetre out. Like sometimes with War Machine it would...
Yeah, but see, I think it has nothing to do with the mechanics. Both games have the same level of precision built into them. I feel it's just the ethos of this community is different than the ethos was of War Machine towards the end of it, for whatever reason. I couldn't tell you why.
Yeah. But that sounds like a more pleasant experience.
It's way more pleasant.
Because you did a lot of judging in the War Machine. You would be...
Yeah.
You've got some stories about being called into pretty intense situations.
Pressure cooker situations. Yeah. Because I was the head TO typically, so all the easy rulings got done by the line judges. So whenever I turned up, it was
Norbert,
never.
It's so good.
I never was surprised by it because I knew this was not going to be easy in some fashion.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it was mostly dealing with emotional states more than actually the rules.
You'd be like, "What's happened?" One person's crying.
Well, like that literally
someone
happened.
Else's models are like other side of the room.
Well, yeah. I've had people tossing models around, not across the room, but like
just like
angrily on the table, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I've had not to say middle-aged man, but older than a teenager,
fully grown
man, nearly come to tears at one point. in the corner that I had to kind of deal with. So yeah, but no, in MCP I haven't had that problem at all. Thank God.
Thank God. And how's the, you obviously run the events at Bad Moo, and you've got a regular slot there. Is this the first of its kind in terms of bunching the numbers out, multiple day format? Or is this taking place up and down the country at the moment?
Oh, right.
MCP?
So
they're kind of 2-3 day events.
Right. Last year, the great Tony Moore from Element Games up there, he ran 2 events that were 2 days, but in a classic kind of UK environment, which means in the gaming shop where they have the space to play, but no hotel attachment to it, no organized things around it, and not 24-hour gaming. It was like, you do, which is not bad. I'm just saying it was like 4 games on the one day, and then you have to leave, and then 3 games on the second day, and you have to leave, and that's it. So he ran that sort of thing twice.
How many players was that, sorry? Ish.
The spring one might have been 64, and then I think they went 128 in the autumn one, I think. It could have been 128 in either one. Sorry, Tony, if that's incorrect.
Reference.
But certainly 64. And but then in the summer he held the first live. We did it first on TTS. Just want to say first live team tournament, 5-person team tournament he ran, which got lots of attraction from other countries, which was brilliant. Awesome. Well done on Tony to get that to happen. We had Italians, Spanish, Irish, English, obviously a Scottish team, Welsh. I thought there was one other continental team that came there.
Swedish?
No, not Swedes, sadly. I wish they had come. And so that was, again, 2 days as well, but 5-person team. Actually, it was the first day was the team tournament, and it was over. It was 4 rounds, and then we just did an individual 4-round tournament on the next day.
Cool.
So that's how it was. But so this is only the first one that's 3 days, and the first one that's actually an American-style event.
As in having people on site, sort of thing.
You stay in a hotel that's attached to the venue, and you can play 24 hours a day for 3 days, and they have multiple types of events in addition to the main event.
Yeah, that's quite impressive for a game that was started in lockdown to have those number of people coming out to events. You kind of notice in the community growing. Could tell us about the TTS streaming that you do as well. That'd be good for if people may be watching this and thinking, I want to learn a bit more about MCP.
Yeah, sure.
How can they absorb themselves more in it in the content that you do? What do you put out?
Okay, cool. What you're referring to is that on Tabletop Simulator. So let's go back a little bit. Pandemic happened almost immediately upon release. So this released in November of 2019. Lockdown started happening around March of 2020, right? So it had 2 months before, basically 2 months. So Tabletop Simulator is a way to mimic 3D environments. So you
can even flip the table.
You can flip the table in it, yeah, which is obviously designed by gamers. But you can mod it basically. So because it's just a physics engine, so you can mod it to mimic any kind of game at all. And we were really fortunate that there was a number of people who knew how to do the programming language, and they started building a mod for MCP because of the pandemic. And that really got us going. And almost immediately, people started playing that, and then we had leagues. So we would run leagues. Cool. And so we would run multiple leagues. And now I've forgotten your question.
Well, where is it up to now? So you started doing the leagues, and how's that evolved? Because you're still making that content.
Oh, right, my content, yeah. So thank you. So the leagues were really carrying us through, because nobody else could play it. You couldn't play live unless you had a bubble or whatever. And so I started playing it at first, and then I started saying, let's try to bring this to more people. And so that's when I learned how to do streaming on a very rudimentary level on Twitch, which was always fun. I always wanted to be on Twitch because that's how I hear you earn money to buy yachts and stuff like that. So I'm well on my way on that, actually. Yeah. So I started up that Twitch stream, and I immediately found a partner who I wanted to do it with. I knew I wanted it to do as a tete-on-tete kind of a thing, as opposed to me just looking at a game, because it's just more interesting. And so my good friend Huggy Bear, Hugo from Sweden, actually, I asked him to join me, and he agreed to it, which is great because he knows the strategy, he knows the deep game very well. Whereas I said, look, I'm going to do the play-by-plays and stuff like that, and you do the kind of color commentary on the strategy that's going on there. And we started streaming those games precisely because I just wanted people to have more exposure to them and maybe learn something in the meantime. And it just built from there. I mean, it was really kind of fun. It was just fun, so I was going to do it regardless. But it's been really fun because I get a lot of now people regularly in the chats, and they kind of help us commenting on the game essentially. And so it's kind of like a big living room environment where people are checking out.
Yeah.
And then, but I've heard many people saying how I've seen you on doing those battle reports that got me interested in the game. Now I'm playing it in real life, and so that has been the most satisfying thing to have happened.
So when do you do those then? Do you do them as a regular weekly slot?
We do, yeah, typically, because we run them during the seasons of the league, okay? And so the league is usually 6 rounds, so 1 a week, and then there will be 5 rounds of like a knockout kind of a thing for the championship. So that's almost 3 months of time. So and we stream typically every Wednesday evening around 7:30 London time.
How can people find it?
It
on
is
Twitch. What's the name?
On Twitch is dr_Norbert, so Dr. Norbert, and then I always upload them onto YouTube after the stream is over, and that is Dr. Norbert Games. So
I'll put it in the description.
Yeah, great. Dr. Norbert Games on YouTube, and I'd love you get those likes, get those subscribes in, smash those buttons.
Subscribe more.
Yeah, because we gotta get the channel to grow, or else my children won't eat.
You go, no more yachts. No more yachts. Well, I think everyone I've spoke today has done a good job of making me feel excited about MCP. And knowing that like a lot of the Flail guys and the York guys are playing it makes me feel good. Because even though I don't play them, I just played literally one intro game. It's been great coming in and just seeing all the faces.
It's all about the community in the end, right? Yeah. You want a game that's going to be fun and not contentious to play, so that when you get together with people that you know or you don't know, it's just a fun experience. And then you add this environment around it about this nice venue that we're in and everything. It's what brings you back to these sorts of events. At least if it does for me. Yeah,
definitely. So as a final question, which roster should I buy? What should I get?
You should definitely.
What would suit me?
You whatever kind of Marvel characters really sing to you. That's the number one thing. And if you don't have any favorites, then we could talk about kind of.
I don't have any favorites. Which are the best?
The best. There aren't. There definitely is not any one thing that's best. Absolutely not. Everything is great.
Always a good sign.
Yeah, I mean, there's some of the below the curve, obviously, as usual. But your first step should be just like, what characters do I like, or and then after that, maybe what kind of play style you have.
Yeah. Branch out a bit. And thanks for putting me in touch with some South Coast people that play. I appreciate that. I'll go check it out.
Yeah, right on your doorstep, actually. Yeah. So
lovely. Right in the sea. It's always lovely to chat to you, mate.
Thank you so much for having me.
Loads, and I always love your insights as to whatever we're up to, and appreciate you loads.
Yeah, good. I hope you can watch some of the streams, maybe learn a little bit.
Yeah. I'll do my best, sir.
Thanks, Paul.
Nice one. Cheers, matey. Okay, I hope you enjoyed all those interviews as much as I did. It's safe to say that the event was a massive success. Everybody's comments on social media the past, yesterday and today, have been really, really positive. Loads of good things to say about the event. If you did attend, let us know what you thought of it in the comments below. The Next Gen guys will be watching this, and obviously good friends of mine, so they'll be keeping an eye on the comments. So it'll definitely get to them if you leave some comments, thoughts, and feedback below. In terms of what I thought of the game, I was a little bit skeptical and hesitant, mainly because the superhero thing that I kept mentioning, it's just not really, I just find it a little bit cringe, a little bit weird, superheroes. But the game itself was clearly really strong. The bits that I enjoyed the most about War Machine were replicated in MCP. So that was the precise nature of the game and kind of a tight, clear rule set. You just didn't hear people shouting for judges and needing people to come over. It was just a really nice, really clear cut, really clean rule set. The dice seem a little bit of a strange mechanic, a little bit spiky, because they're like 8-sided dice. The results obviously spike all over the place. So that's something I'm going to be keeping my eye on and learning more about as I get some games in. But what was interesting was there's definitely certain people keep getting to the top of the leaderboards and winning these events. And when that starts to occur, it's quite clear that it's not just simply about dice and pure spiking. Sure, some players get to a lot of events, and sometimes it can be about reps and knowing the rules and a little bit of luck. But it's clearly a game in which skill and sensible placement is rewarded. And as I learned from speaking to some of those players and some of the interviews you'll have heard, the best players learn ways of manipulating and managing that dice pool and not just relying on spiky dice to get them through games. It's not a game. It doesn't seem to be a game where you just roll a spiky dice and that's it, you win, which you kind of could sometimes get in War Machine. And also the nature of kind of downing a model, so it's kind of dazed and down rather than just off the board, means that if you do spike on someone, they've still got the model. It's still around. It's not like, okay, cool, that's it. It's absolutely over. So that's certainly something I'll be keeping an eye on and learning more about. and get involved in. So I'm going to be giving it a go on this channel. I'll be making some MCP content alongside my competitive 40k Inquisition. I'll be doing some MCP stuff as well. If you've made it this far, really appreciate you watching the video. Please like and subscribe for more. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.